Welcome back to the Inspiring Victory Show, where we help you double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And you know how excited I am because, backed by popular demand, we have Timothy Van Mieghem of the ProAction Group. He's also writing a spectacular book coming out in October called Shocking Profit. And it's how do you have, ethical, sustainable, amazing amounts of profit that you can be proud of, and how do you grow your company and scale your company successfully and become the leader that your team deserves. So Tim was so popular in our first episode that people had more questions. I have been tasked with asking Tim, so I'm going to go ahead and ask those. But thank you so much for coming back on the show. I know you are so busy, and the fact that you find the time is really appreciated. Thank you so much for being here.
So my pleasure, Sarah.
Nice to see you. All right, so here's some of the questions that people were asking. One was, how did you grow the business that you have? Because you know so much about leadership. You talked a lot on the last episode about how do you look for hidden value in your company, which is what Shocking Profit is all about. But how did you grow your company? And then how do you see other companies growing successfully?
Sure.
What's the secret to growing successfully, I guess?
Yeah, I'll say that there's a few things. From the very beginning, it's always been true, but it was very necessary at the beginning, was to have a very clear niche where you offered something that's different and very focused and specific. So our very first beginning, it was that we offered actually implementing solutions that drove a change in the business. It wasn't a study. It was actually implementing a change focused on sourcing and supply chain for a middle market company. So it was really easy for us and our clients to know if we were relevant or not. That got us in the door. Okay. And the beautiful thing with consulting is as you start to build your clients, you get to grow by word of mouth. A couple of the big areas for me are, one, going to association, trade shows, conferences where people who buy our services go. Did not go to consulting conferences. I went to conferences of business owners, and that way I got to meet people who could buy our business. That was one very effective approach. The second one is so hard and so easy at the same time. And Sarah, you are a master at this. It is everybody you talk to say, who else should I be talking to? Who do you know that would benefit from the kind of service and work we do? And adding in, now these days I have the podcast and the book. And so connecting with people that I can quote in the book, or connecting with people that are interested in being interviewed in the podcast, it gives me a beautiful reason to get to know them. And as soon as you have that conversation and say, just simple, basic questions that, get curious, right? That basic idea. What's going on in your world? What are you working on? What keeps you
What's important? What's important to people? Most people are so busy selling that they don't stop to find out what's important to other people. And sometimes just by the fact that you've asked, you become that trusted person to them, and they realize that there is some sort of reciprocity going on there, not just, that desperation to, close every human being with a pulse who can fog a mirror. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You do that really, really well. I love that about you and your salespeople. Now that you've grown so much, you have a sales team that can go and do those things. What would be another secret to growth that you see in your clients that have grown really successfully?
There's a couple that I would bring up. The first one I'm going to come back to because it's so important is having a niche. What business are we in? Understanding that and sticking to it. Okay. And today in our world, there's so much opportunity for specialization that it's almost hard to focus. The more narrow you get in focus, the more specific of a problem you solve or a vision you enable, you can differentiate yourself. And when people look for, one time I had somebody ask me, have you helped anybody negotiate with mining companies in South America and in Australia? It's like, it was very specific,
Oddly specific.
oddly
Right.
specific,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
gets there. Another
And had you? And had you?
we
You have now.
what we did is learn how to reverse questions. Instead of answering that question, said, tell us what's important about that. Why, what's the negotiation
Right.
do? And then as we dug in, we were able to recognize that the industry experience was less relevant than the problem solving experience. We found the problem that we
Nice.
helped other
Yeah.
people solve.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And you're not letting them down in any way. But
Exactly.
yeah, and I think a lot of times people will think, yeah, I see this in hiring a lot. They'll think, I need somebody with 20 years experience and this and that and the other thing. And then it really turns out you just need somebody that can really accomplish what you want to accomplish, that whatever, solving that problem or whatever that is. So yeah, I see what you mean. And I love that technique of just turning around, well, tell me
Yes.
what makes that so important to
Yes.
you exactly. And what are you looking for? And what are you trying to accomplish in South America? And have you had anybody try before? And what have you tried before? And it's a lot easier. And because then you can say, well, we had a really similar situation, but it was in Ireland or whatever it was. And here's
Right.
how we solved it. It would probably apply very much the same way. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Nice insider secret on how to deal with that. I find anytime that somebody asks you a question that makes your stomach clench, like something that is so oddly specific. And again, we want to niche down, but we don't want to be like, I only work in Montana as a paper hanger and
Right.
everybody that I work with has to have a house that's more than 300 years old or something. I mean, you get to a point where it's not really possible for somebody to find somebody with all of those things. But yeah, I love that. I love that you
What
found it.
worked for me, Sarah, was
Yeah.
realizing that as a consultant, I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
As a salesperson, I'm a problem finder.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that combination of what are the problems going on and then how does that tie to what you ultimately want makes you appear. But yeah, I think anytime your stomach hurts, again, it's
Right.
You're feeling like, oh, well, gosh, maybe, but being able to throw it back to, wait a minute, what is it that you want about that? Yeah, I even get that sometimes people will say, you fancy consultant types, what can you really do for me? And I literally have said to people, I don't know, maybe nothing. I don't know what you want. Probably it could be zero.
Yeah.
I could send you to somebody else if I know what you want, but you haven't told me what you're looking for. But yeah, I think there's something really smart about that. Again, finding out what is the real problem here, what it needs to be solved, and why do they want to solve it? Because what is the bigger goal that, again, makes you appear to them? I am so incredibly honored to have you as a part of the Inspiring Victory tribe at the Inspiring Victory Show. Please do us a favor. We really need your help. Please like, subscribe, share, write a comment. It makes a huge difference with how many people we can reach here at the Inspiring Victory Show, and it makes a big difference to me personally. I want to make sure that we're providing content to as many people as we possibly can so they can grow and succeed. So we'd love to have you continue your membership here at the Inspiring Victory Show. It's free. Helping us out costs nothing, but it makes a huge difference in how many people we can help. So double your business, double your impact, and change the world. And thank you so much for being a part of this extraordinary community. Thank you. What else have you seen that you think is key to scaling a business or growing a business? Because you see a lot. You've worked in many, 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 many businesses.
Yes. Well, so we've talked about the growth side, like demand and sales side a little bit. Scaling also requires that you can serve the customer, satisfy the demand at a higher and higher level. And this is one of the most difficult transitions for a business owner, especially a founder. When you originate, when you start the business, you are the chief performer. You're the chief cook and bottle washer. You
do everything.
Design.
Everything.
Yeah. Right. You're selling, you're designing, you're administrating, you're doing everything. And then as you grow, then you have a team that supports you. And very often you're the conductor. Here's what I need each of you to do when, and it works very well until it can't anymore. And the point at which it can no longer work is when you're so busy, you've got enough clients, enough different services, enough different departments where you can no longer personally inspect in the quality that your services
Mhm.
require. And that
Mhm.
transition, and Sarah,
Very tough.
it is exactly at a deeper level. This is what Shocking Profit, the book, is about. It is
Mhm.
about the transformation to go from an entrepreneurially run company where you personally, as the CEO or leader, are hands on and part of every aspect of the company, to
Mhm.
a company that is, in a sense, gone from whatever you sell or produce to a producer of leaders, where
Right,
you
right.
develop your company. What I found with this, and it's just such a wonderful cycle, is when you identify an issue, and let's take this one. We're scaling, we're growing, and I can't control the quality anymore. My margins are going down. I'm getting customers who are frustrated. I'm late, got a quality issue, whatever it is.
Mm.
That is a problem. That is a burning platform. A CEO, that's the type of thing that they will not or cannot ignore. And
Mhm.
what I love to say to them as we learn more about the symptoms of what's going on and come up with a
Mhm.
solution is that we say, now that we figured out the solution, you can't do it. If you do it,
Right.
you've just spun it
Yes.
to a point. That doesn't help anybody. Well, it'll help in the short term, but it's not going to change anything. What we do instead
Mhm.
is we use it as a tool or a training wheels, an initial run where a key part of your team to own an improvement, stabilize the company. And once they go
Mhm.
through that initial cycle, they've now demonstrated it. Oh my, we just did this work.
Mhm.
It took a week, and life is different now. This is
Mhm.
smoother. I don't have to do all that stuff anymore, whatever it was. And they get used to it. And you go from a blame type culture to a problem solving culture. You
Mhm.
develop people who also learn how to develop people. So it becomes
Okay.
like,
Everybody becomes a developer of people
exactly
because
that.
you can't really scale or even really grow unless everyone is developing themselves and developing others.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. Then that is a key moment in any business. I see that a lot. It's like, yeah, yeah, it's a difficult challenge. And yeah, and I remember Rodney Grieve, also a wonderful, smart guy, was a Branta company. I know you probably heard of them, but he was on the show and he said, micromanaging is if you tell somebody how to do something they've done 10,000 times before.
Right.
But the opposite is, the abdicating of good luck, figure it out. If they've never done it before, you have to be able to slow down and help them understand how to do it. But then it's a matter of getting out of the way. And, so knowing when is the time to take the training wheels off and here's, you know how to do this. You're good. You're fine. I think that's difficult for most entrepreneurs. I certainly get that. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So what are the things that get in the way of people being able to scale? That's one big one. What else?
The biggest problem that I see
Mhm.
is how difficult it is for some people to hold others accountable. Okay.
Ah, okay.
And it's so tied in with this first piece. And here's what
Interesting.
I mean by that is
Mhm.
if we go to the scalable approach where we now have a process, we have targets and goals and metrics and systems and all these things. At the end of the day, though, it's up to the CEO. The role they do play is to ask people about it. Hey, how's that new scheduling going?
Mhm.
Let's walk through it. Help me understand how it's working. Let's take a tour of the plant. Let's look at the lines. Asking the questions that highlight whether how well we're following the process and what the output performance is. Some people, what we find is it's easier to do other people's jobs for them than to hold them accountable for doing their job.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And why do you think that is? Why do you think people have so much more there? I mean, obviously, if you've done it a million times, you're used to doing it. It is quicker.
Yeah.
But what's the reason that
Yeah.
all of us probably shy away from holding people accountable?
I think there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that it can be very uncomfortable, especially if it's something you've never done. And I'll say this was a journey I had to go on. Where asking other people to do things, no, I was the one people asked. I was the chief performer. I got my chance in business because I did things really, really well. And if I stop doing them really, really well and instead ask other people to do it, well, then who am I? You know, it was hard for me to make that leap. And the second reason is it only works if you have process. If you set up processes that work and are to be followed by all, if before that, when it's more people know what to do, they know how to run this business because they've been running it, you know, where they've been onboarded by on-the-job training over many years. It's hard to hold people accountable when there's no target, no metric, no boundary. Both of those things often combine to make it impossible to hold people accountable. And that is it's one of the first things to identify and start to reverse.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. What do you think people need to do more of in their business that they don't do?
I'm going to go back to something we said last episode, and it is to get curious. Yeah. It is to be present. You know, there's that fight. I just got through saying I don't want you, the CEO, to be directly involved or doing things, you know, driving things in their business. And then at the same time, I say, but you have to be present. This isn't set it and forget it. What this is give people, you know, the parameters, give them their targets, their goals, have them be part of setting those, but set up why are we here? What are we here to accomplish? And what's the approach to take? And then let them do it and stay present. Do your daily walks, walk through the plant, talk to people, look at the success boards. Did we hit our numbers for the day, or where are we? And it doesn't need to be snippy or negative. It's just, hey, you know, we missed our goal today. What happened? You know?
Yeah.
Were we short people, machine down, no product,
somebody,
you know, or was it a mistake? And mistakes happen, and we don't get mad. It is what it is.
Things happen. Yeah. Or is there some kink in the process that we need to change things so that this doesn't happen on a regular basis?
Yes.
What's going on? Yeah. So I think it's that being fascinated by the processes and the systems and the people. That curiosity, like you said, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing so much of your wisdom and all the things that you have learned over many, many years, and who you've had to become in order to lead your team and to make it as successful and scale it successfully, and the things you've seen in all these other companies. Very, very helpful to all of us growing businesses. How do we get a hold of you if we want some help with the systems and the processes and getting more shocking profit and finding the hidden value? What's the value in our companies? What's the best way to reach out to you guys at ProAction Group?
Yes, there's a few very good ways. The first one is proactiongroup.com. It's our website. It'll have connections to connect with me, my colleagues in business development, and our 30-odd some consultants. Shockingprofit.com will give you background and connections related to our podcast and the coming book. And of course, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. 3 good sources there.
Yeah. And if you cannot figure out how to spell Timothy Van Mieghem, it will be in the notes below. And I don't blame you. I think it took me a year before I could get the spelling right. There's a GH in there, I'm just saying. Anyway, Tim, it's wonderful getting to see you. Thank you for being on the show. And for you who are taking the time to listen or watch, I'm so grateful to have you as part of the tribe. And I know how much Tim impacts people. And we're glad to be able to do that for you. We're glad to be able to keep bringing you content. Keep on liking and sharing and subscribing and commenting. It helps a lot. It's free, and it allows more people to get access to somebody like Tim Van Mieghem for free. So thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for being on the show, Tim. And for you and for all of us, double your business, double your impact, and change the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Meritess Bott of Bott and Associates.
I'm so honored to get to be with our wonderful sponsor for the Inspiring Victory Show. And I want to make sure you know a little bit more about her and about what they do, because I think it'd be really helpful for all of us as business people and just in our personal lives. Meritus does a lot of speaking, as many of you probably know, but I love one of the speeches that she's famous for, which is A Generous Legacy, the power of future-proofing your business and your personal life. And that's really what you are all about. So I want to talk a little bit about that with you. And can you give us an example of somebody who's come to you and how you were able to help them that might be able to help all of us as we navigate our financial planning as well as our estate planning for business and for personal?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. I appreciate it. We do a lot of estate planning, obviously, as well as the financial planning for our clients. And a story that I think is a great way to showcase what we do is this wonderful couple that we met back in, I want to say 2015. They came in for a consultation. So they are certainly a wonderful couple, blended family. So second marriage for both of them. He has children and she does not. Basically, they were saying to me, Meritus, I really want my estate plan to be secure. I want it to be ironclad so it goes to the right people. Particularly the wife was concerned that this money goes to her charities, which she was very, very active in and volunteers quite a bit. She puts her hard-earned money with them. And she also wants to make sure her husband is taken care of as well. So she wanted to do both objectives at the same time. We were like, of course we can help you with that. We want to make sure that we write everything down and just like you said, make it ironclad so that there's no contest. There's nobody trying to get to the money inappropriately. Right. So we created a wonderful estate plan for them. So that was 2015. Now, sadly, she unexpectedly passed a few years later. And her surviving spouse came to us and he really needed help. He was so, of course, distraught and super, super sad. But he was also very concerned about the financial pieces. He wasn't that familiar with financial instruments. There was 13, 14, 15 accounts that she had. And of course, he was like, I'm confused. What do I do with all of this? So we said, okay, we're going to take care of you. We got this. And we were able to really take a hold of all those instruments and all those accounts. And on our financial side of our business, we were able to consolidate them, invest it in very prudent investments and make sure it's easy for him to manage. So we were able to do that within 3 to 6 months. His late wife's wishes of him being able to live on that money and then eventually at his death give it to her charities is exactly what's going to happen. So wonderful to be able to plan it properly, give her peace of mind. A few years later, we're honoring 100% of her wishes. This money is not going to go to anybody inappropriately. And her beneficiaries, her charities, are going to be so happy to be able to get this money upon his death because he is still able to live on that income. So I love those stories because to me, we work so hard. We sacrifice daily, right? We work so hard and we want to be able to take our money and be able to give it to people that we love and charities that we believe in.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. I always enjoy spending time with you. And yeah, you're one of the people I always find so much value in talking to. You're just walking integrity and you're a good soul. And you help people. You help people. So thank you for being on the show again and for sharing with us and for always doing such a great job for everybody. And now that you're able to do even more and be more of a one-stop shop to help people with all these different issues, I think your company and you are even more valuable. Thank you so much. Always lovely to see you. Meritus Bott and Associates. If it's something that you need, be sure and contact Meritus right away. Thank you.